Hola, you are now listening to the Mind Wanderers podcast, your weekly exploration of the world around you. I'm your host, Timi, and this is episode 2. I actually just love that song. Like, there's no time I'm gonna hear that song and I'm not gonna do a little shuffle to it. It's just such a good song when it comes to like feeling good. When it comes to just like, I can imagine like just walking on the street or like in a park and listening to it and just going into like one of those like little like spring steps. You know, you know when someone's walking with a little bit of a spring in their step, and you just know, oh, that person's happy. That's what people will say when they look at me listening to this song in a park by myself, being a loser. Anyway, diversion aside, welcome to the Mind Wanderers podcast. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Timi, and where are we gonna go today? Who knows? Where do I even want to start with this? To be honest, I actually got shat on earlier on this week and I still haven't really got over it. It's like I was walking and I don't even know how to describe it. I wasn't even doing anything. I was walking, there wasn't even anything over my head, no trees, no nothing. And all I didn't even hear anything. I just felt something. And then I looked down, my trousers were just like, it was disgusting. Anyway, yep, that happened. And then the same day I bought a scratch card and the same day I won £5. So who's to say, maybe I came out on top, but apparently that's good luck. Don't know what type of good luck it is, but fuck it. And also I've been thinking, how come birds are shitting everywhere? Like, I've only recently started driving and I've only started to notice how often birds just look at your car. And okay, I don't own a car, but the car I drive, and they will see the car and they will just shit on it. There's nothing around. There's no even place to like perch and actually shit on the car. Like, that means you're deliberately flying over the cars and shitting on it, or you're literally just hovering above it and shitting on it. I don't understand. They're just everywhere. Like, and my mom had this really like weird idea where she basically said that she believes it's down to pollution as to why the birds are shitting so much. That is very, very interesting. I never thought about it. Don't know if there's any truth to it, but I was just thinking maybe she has a point there, but we'll leave that to the side. One interesting thing did happen to me. It's a kind of a funny story. It's called the car park story. Let's call it that. So I go to gym quite late. I'm a late gymmer. I don't know if there's any other late gymmers out there, but I don't like going when everyone's around and you have to be asking people if I can use the weights and whatnot. So I go kind of late. So let's say 10:30, 11. So it's a Friday now. I go to gym. I finish around 12:30. And my car's parked in the car park. So I go to the car park, and you know sometimes when you sit in your car, you're not really doing that much. So you're like maybe replying to some texts and whatnot. So I was doing that. Then next thing you know, all I heard was a massive woof. I was then thinking, what the fuck was that? And next thing you know, all the lights are just turning off. I was just, oh shit. So I started getting the keys, together, and then I just started to drive. And I get to the front, and then I realized that, fuck, the caretaker has actually locked down the car park. So then I'm just like, fuck. So I park up the car again. I'm just like, well, if the car's going to be left overnight, so be it. Tomorrow Saturday, I'll wake up early and I'll go back and get it. So I now locked the car, and then I now went to the entrance that I came in from, and that was locked. And I said, whoa, fuck me. So I now went to another exit, and that was locked. And now I'm really starting to get freaked out, because in my head I was thinking, if I was homeless, where would I stay? And car park made so much sense because you've got shelter if it's raining. You can find a nice little spot. If you go to the top, no one's really going to stay at the top after a period of time. So if you just get there late-ish and you stay at the top, you're kind of cool for most of the night. You got a shelter. So here's me locked inside, and now here's my mind wandering to, shit, how many homeless people have made camp in this, and thinking, ooh, we got like a bit of fresh meat here, kind of thing. Not saying that homeless people are cannibals, but you get what I mean. I was just kind of scared. So as any normal thinking person, what would you do? I said, let me call the police. So I call the police now, and the guy picks up.
911, what's your emergency?
I explained to him the situation, and verbatim, this is what he said. He said, we kind of don't deal with that. And in my mind, I then thought, what do you mean you don't deal with that? This is my life, and you're here to protect and serve my life as per your contract. You are a public servant at the end of the day. So anyway, now they were of no help, and now I'm starting to really shit myself at. Fuck, I am probably going to be stuck in this car park for most of the night. Anyway, now I find the fire exit door. I push it open, and lo and behold, I managed to get through. But that was my story. The day after the police called me, I ignored it because explaining that story again makes me sound like a pussy. So I would not do that. Yeah, that has been my week. So what are we talking about today? I have a very interesting topic for you guys. It's one that I don't think a lot of people have heard. And when I say I don't think a lot of people have heard, I mean as in it's not something that comes up. And that's what this whole podcast is about. It's not something that comes up every day. It's something that is within our lives every day. And I think it's something to explore, something to somewhat look into. So this topic is on gamification. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. It's basically, so when you take game mechanics and you put it into everyday things in your life in order to either motivate people, engage with people, and it's actually done in a very like subtle way. So gamification, basically all that is taking game elements and putting that into another activity or service which might not inherently have any game mechanics within it. And the reason why people do this is it's not typically used as like an online marketing technique to encourage engagement or with a product, but it's also used in schools like to get kids who aren't maybe that inclined to just study, read a book and just do an exam. It's basically used to engage them more and get them to it's a motivation tool that people use because a reward system, competition, all of those things thrive engagement with whatever the activity or task may be. The reason why I actually wanted to look into this topic was because I actually saw an article that it was worth 6.8 billion in like 2018, and it is projected to reach 40 billion in 2024. And this is because of how powerful it is as a tool for people to engage with something. One example I think I can think about is, who remembers when a Snapchat, I don't even know if it was from the beginning, but when Snapchat started adding scores and when people started to check, you don't realize, but inherently you look at that score, you look at your friend's score, and already you're in some form of competition. Why the fuck do they have 20,000 and why do I have 10,000? What the fuck are they doing? So you start sending some more Snapchat, so you're engaging more with Snapchat altogether. Or you can think about stuff like in fact a good example I can use in the education system is myself. The school I went to, we had 2 exams every single year. So this is in secondary school. So 2 exams every single year. You have your mid-year exams and then you had your end-of-year exams. And basically after each set of exams, so you'll take an exam for every single subject you did. So whether that be like maths, English, science, religious studies, so Chinese, whatever the fuck it is. So we'll basically do all exams either midway through the year or end of the year. And then at the end of that, they would mark up all the scores average your scores, and then put you in a leaderboard. And this is a leaderboard of everyone in your year. So without even thinking about it, you're already going into competition mode, because no one wants to be last, and so everyone's always vying to go further and further and reach the top. I personally myself did not do too bad. I came 12th and 5th, not to brag, but gotta put, like, I'm not dumb in it. So there's other uses of it. So when you add in, so I saw a nice example actually, but it happened in Portugal, and what it was basically the council wanted to vote on the next year's budget, so they needed a way to get the community or the people involved in making that decision. So what they did is that they created an app so that people could vote on potential budget proposals to drive up voting. So what they did is that by having a leaderboard showing what budget is technically more popular or winning at the moment, what happens then is that people will look at the budget and say, oh, I don't really care about infrastructure as much as I care about health, and so I have to vote to make sure that health is above infrastructure. And I found that, like, it's so crazy, because J. Cole has a verse in one of his songs, and it's basically saying,
let me decide, bitches 2018. Let me pick the things I'm funding from an app on my screen. Better that than letting whack congressmen I've never seen dictate where my money goes. Straight into the palms of some money-hungry company that make guns that circulate the country.
Let me vote via an app on my screen. And he's saying it in a sense of everyone has a phone, so everyone can vote. And then there's also the flip side of, no, it's because it's more engaging. People are going to get engaged with it more. Another example is Ubers. If you think about Ubers, they need the drivers to basically drive more. So in order for them to drive more, how are you going to incentivize people to drive more? So what they use is gamification techniques and methods. So instead of them just picking people up and dropping people, they now have further incentives through badges and landmark achievements. So what they have one called, so when you see an Uber driver and they have a badge that says great conversation or excellent service, these are things that are basically incentives for the driver to basically either improve his service or drive more. And so through these techniques, gamification is used to improve productivity by companies as well, such as Uber, such as Amazon in the big warehouses, and they will have their different incentive schemes. They also use gamification quite a lot in call centers as well. And this is because you need to basically encourage people or motivate people in different ways. You don't need to beat them into basically doing something. You need to make it seem like people are competitive naturally. So if you can make it something that you're competing against your peers in a friendly environment, then they'll do that. Or what they'll do is that they'll add an incentive at the end if there's a leaderboard. So there's plenty of ways that gamification is used within our life. And so I thought today we're going to go into the topic of gamification, and we're going to delve a bit into the chemical reactions it releases in your brain. So tune in for that. One sec. Dopamine. So have you guys, when you have a list, have you ever felt really happy that you've ticked something off that list, and then you look to the next item and you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to do that one next? Because effectively that is dopamine, and dopamine is a main factor when it comes to gamification, because dopamine is responsible for a lot of things such as like emotional response, movement, learning, attention, and basically it enables us to acknowledge a reward and positive feelings. So a good way to describe dopamine is like when we experience success or pleasure or stuff like when we learn something new, we release the chemical dopamine, and that basically tells the body that we like this feeling. So whatever we've done, we like it, and so dopamine is basically putting an imprint on your body saying, I like this feeling. And so basically it then pushes us to repeat whatever action has caused that feeling of success, pleasure, or learning. And so this is what dopamine does. It basically reinforces and motivates us to repeat actions. And dopamine is very crucial to gamification, because by making everything into a game, we're achieving new levels, we're ticking stuff off like an achievement list, we have trophies, we have stuff that we're going to make us feel good. And whenever we feel good, we release dopamine, and dopamine is going to push us to basically repeat that action. So dopamine is the first chemical that gamification releases. So next up, we got serotonin. Serotonin is a chemical within the body. Its full name is a neurotransmitter, because it's a chemical that sends signals between nerves, basically. It's responsible for a lot of brain and body functions. Like we hear it quite a lot when it comes to depression and stuff. And the reason being is that serotonin is actually responsible for stuff like your mood, your appetite, and even stuff like social behavior. So one interesting thing about serotonin is that it's a very effective chemical when it's released in the brain, and but it's actually not predominantly produced in the brain. Like 80 to 90% of serotonin is actually found in our stomach or intestines. So I was just like, that's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. So yeah, so following that, the reason why serotonin is big in gamification is when someone feels wanted or when they feel important, that basically boosts their serotonin. And as I mentioned before, serotonin has a lot of links to depression. And so what gamification does is, if it makes you feel more wanted and more important, you release more serotonin, and therefore your mood improves. Doctors at the moment have not necessarily found out if a good mood boosts the level of serotonin, and serotonin then improves your mood. But it's like a kind of like induction loop. They don't know if it's like a chicken and egg thing. Like, does more serotonin boost your mood, or does your mood boost serotonin? Like, no one really knows. So serotonin is also, if you like, an example of where you can like see it predominantly used in like your everyday life is stuff like Apple Watches, Fitbits. All of these things, they show you your progression, and when you can see a positive progression, like you're getting slimmer or you're getting more toned or whatnot, that releases more serotonin, therefore improves your mood. So to get into stuff like Instagram and Twitter, so when you get a blue tick to you is some form of validation, and so it being validation, therefore when you do receive that blue tick, you then release more serotonin, therefore improving your mood, or it improves your mood and then you receive more serotonin. So yeah, I will leave it to you guys to figure out which one comes first. So yeah, moving on. Coming up at number 3 is Oxycontin, the one I couldn't pronounce before. That basically, Oxycontin, it is a chemical that's released that gives us a strong sense of commitment. So if you're in a group, or if you're with your parents or family members or friends, when this chemical is released, what it does is it increases like the trust, and like it brings feelings of bonding and stuff like that, all that and good stuff. But also one interesting thing about Oxycontin is it is also released on the flip side. So if you guys share hate for someone, Oxycontin gets released then as well, and it strengthens that bond of hate. So like it could be like, fuck that person, and then someone else says fuck that person, and you'd be like, yo, I like you. And that's how you guys are bonding. So Oxycontin works like that as well. Because I also read in a newspaper one time, I don't know the newspaper, but guys can check it yourself. They basically say one of the easiest emotions to emulate over the internet is anger. And I was thinking about it. It's true, because when people are happy for someone, it's sometimes hard for someone else to be happy for that person. It's just like, okay, cool, they've done that. But then if someone's done something wrong, it's quite easy for someone to say, yo, that's bad, or stop eating meat, or stop polluting the earth, or something like that. Like you get the, not to sound like a troublemaker, but you get the line I'm going down. But yeah, so Oxycontin is released to create and form stronger bonds. Next up, So number 4, endorphins. So endorphins are opioids we release naturally after certain stimuli, and they make us feel good. So, but the thing with endorphins is the more difficult the challenge, it boosts the amount of endorphins we release. So there's an Italian word called
Fiero.
and that basically means when you feel proud of something. Yeah. And so basically in gamification they use fiero quite a lot. So I'm not Italian in it, so but it basically means how you feel after great achievements. So that's what it is. It's like endorphins are released after you're faced with a challenge. I'm just thinking, wait, if endorphins are released after you face a challenge, so if you pick up a girl, does that mean endorphins are released because you're like, it's a challenge because you have to talk to her first, you have to keep the convo, and then you have to also get a number at the end. So, okay. So endorphins are released. I'm going to use that next time. Okay. Oh yeah, so that's number 4, endorphins. Sorry, I really went off on a tangent there. But what am I wondering, in it? Like, that's what the podcast is about. I'm just going to be thinking about stuff, and you guys are going to be helping me think about stuff. Why is this concept so powerful? Why is gamification such a powerful concept? And why is it projected to basically change our lives or get us to engage with stuff more? And I was having a wonder about it, and I think it boils down to the fact that we kind of see life as a game anyway. And basically breaking life up into smaller mini games then effectively helps us use those chemicals, in which then motivates us to perform a task or activity. Because if you think about it, we're constantly referring or comparing life to a game. There's always quotes in like movies or poems or books basically referring to life as a big game. And I think with that, I don't know what I think about with that, really. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. If life is a game, we basically want to win all the time. And maybe that's what capitalism is. I don't know. Anyway, gamification is a big function in our life, and I just thought to bring that to the attention of everyone. And if from what you've heard, you feel like putting gamification elements into your life might actually help you be happier, then who knows? Why don't you try that out? Because I was thinking about Mary Kondo, you know, the Japanese lady who has the show on Netflix, Tidying Up with Mary Kondo. And I was just thinking about it. Why is she so successful, and why is her message so powerful? And I think a big part of that is down to the fact that she basically breaks everything up into a checklist. And once you organize everything in which you can cross stuff off, and you can look at a new, like a new list every week. I don't know what she really preaches, but I know she basically gets people to get more organized in their life. And so with what she's doing, she may basically be implementing a form of incremental dopamine release, if that makes sense. From what we've heard, we know that once you break stuff off into a game or make stuff into a leaderboard or a checklist, this basically releases dopamine because you're happy that you're checking stuff off a list. I feel like what Mary Kondo has managed to establish is incremental dopamine release. And if you're always ticking off very small things, you're always releasing a bit of dopamine. And I feel like that links in with the phrase start small and work your way up. When we start like gym regimes or diet plans, or if we're going to start a new venture, everyone always says start small, because once you start small, you, I guess, encourage yourself and motivate yourself to go to the bigger activities or tasks that you may need to take on. So I just, as a roundup, I think gamification is a really cool topic. It's another book for your library that is your mind. This is the Mind Wanderers podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Next week I have a very interesting topic. I keep saying interesting. I need to find another word for interesting, but yeah, I'll get back to you guys with that one. But we will be exploring why the fuck do we cross our legs. So thank you very much for listening to the Mind Wanderers podcast. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Timi Shetaloo. Peace.